This is the ASUS G752 VM gaming notebook, and while on the outside it looks pretty much identical to last year's model, including still being absolutely bloody huge, on the inside ASUS has packed this with the latest GeForce GTX 1060 graphics card. As I'm sure you know, Nvidia's latest Pascal offerings pack the same punch in a gaming notebook like this as they do in a desktop like that. Well, near enough at least. So it's possible to get some serious gaming done on this thing, although it's not exactly the most portable. And while you may be hoping the G752's huge 17.3-inch display perhaps offered a Quad HD or a 4K resolution, ASUS has stuck with a somewhat more pedestrian 1080p resolution, which actually I think is sensible considering it is paired with that somewhat mid-range 1060. But while it may only be 1080p, it does have a slightly higher 75Hz refresh rate, which makes everything feel just a little bit smoother. And it's also got support for Nvidia's G-Sync, which reduces screen tearing and helps keep your frame rate consistent in games. So firing up Battlefield 1, the G752 with its 1060 GPU, 6th gen i7 6700 HQ processor, and 16 gigs of RAM performs impressively well. At 1080p, with most graphics options set to high, Battlefield 1 ran at a stable 65 frames per second. And impressively, the notebook kept cool and reasonably quiet throughout, no doubt thanks to those huge vents sticking out the back, which makes it look like it's got a bit of a fat arse. Moving on to GTA 5, the G752 once again handled it really well. In the benchmark, we saw an average of 75 frames per second at very high settings at 1080p, which is more than playable. In-game, GTA 5 looks great running on the G752's IPS panel. It's bright, colours are rich, and viewing angles are impressive for a gaming notebook. I also quite like the fact that the screen is matte, so there's no annoying reflections, although you do lose just a little bit of the contrast that you would to a glossy display. And actually, considering it is a gaming notebook, I think most people tend to like to play games in a dark room, so that reflection issue may not be a huge advantage, so, well, I quite like it. And next up, we've got Hitman, which can prove to be a bit of a challenge for most systems. It's not the most well optimized, but the G752 handled it pretty capably, achieving an average of 68 frames per second in the benchmark. So very playable then, although it is a good job they stuck with a 1080p display rather than anything sharper, high res, as the 1060 graphics card would struggle at those resolutions. But whether you're playing games or you just browse on the web or on the desktop, everything feels fast and responsive on the G752. And that's mostly down to the fast 256GB NVMe SSD, but as well as that you get a 1TB hard drive, so you're not short on space either. It's sponsor time. Everyone loves a good advert in the middle of the video, but I would like to just make a special mention to Stack, a new personalized news app which is sponsoring this video. If you follow me on Twitter or Instagram, you may have noticed I've been sharing quite a lot of cool technology and science stories recently that I've discovered through Stack, a new and completely free app for iPhone and Android. Stack lets you personalize your newsfeed with what you're interested in. It's a great way of finding and discovering new interesting articles and stories that you can then read and share. But not only that, it then learns what you like, and then that uses that knowledge to pick the most relevant articles to you. It's fast, really easy to use, and there are no ads. Everyone hates ads, right? So links are in the description below. Go and check it out, download it, and let me know what you think. Okay, back to the action. So actually, this is a very capable gaming laptop, but it's not just about gaming and raw performance that I like. The keyboard is really impressive too. The fully backlit chiclet style keys are specifically designed for anti-ghosting, even if you press up to 30 keys at the same time, according to ASUS, although I'm not entirely sure how you do that. But the point is, the keyboard is solid. It's got well-spaced keys with 2.5mm of travel, which makes it comfortable for gaming or typing on. But the keys themselves do feel just a little bit spongy, and there's no mechanical-esque reassuring clack or click to them, which makes it just come across a little bit flat, a little bit underwhelming. And considering how overwhelming the rest of the laptop looks in terms of design, well, it stands out a little bit. As for ports, well, there's pretty much one of everything, which you'd hope given how big this thing is. You get 4 USB 3s, 1 USB 3 Type-C with Thunderbolt, a mini display port, HDMI 1.4, SD card reader, RJ45 Ethernet, and headphone and mic ports. As for the style and the design, well, I think if I was 14, I think this looked super cool and mega awesome. But I have to be honest, the fighter jet stylings, ridiculously big bezels, and just overall slightly tired Asian design does put me off a little bit. And it does look almost identical to last year's model. It's also really heavy as well at 4 kilograms, so you will definitely notice this if you somehow manage to fit it into a backpack. So it is big and it is heavy, but you do get a 17.3-inch screen compared to, say, the Dell XPS 15, which sports a GTX 1050 graphics card, or the Razer Blade, which has the same 1060 card as this. Compared to the Razer Blade specifically, this just seems unnecessarily huge. As for battery life, well, it's pretty much what you'd expect. Browsing the web, watching videos, and just doing general bits of office work on it. The G752 lasted for around 3.5 to 4 hours on its 6-cell, 67 watt-hour battery at 50% brightness with power saving mode on. But obviously you're going to have this plugged in when you're gaming, so it's not actually that bad. It's about on par for these sort of gaming notebooks. So it's big, not the best looking perhaps, but it is fast, and thanks to that GTX 1060, it's also VR capable, so you could actually run your Oculus Rift or your HTC Vive off this thing. Although honestly, considering how important a high stable frame rate is for VR, I'd probably want something a little bit more powerful than a 1060 personally. And that is one of my issues I have with it. I just wish it was a bit more powerful. If I was determined to go out and buy a gaming notebook and I had that sort of money to spend, I doubt I'd want to settle for a mid-range 1060 card. But don't get me wrong, I do like the G752. It's got a great screen and its performance is impressive at 1080p. But the size, the lack of style, and any real exciting features beyond the newer Pascal graphics cards makes it a little bit harder to recommend, especially with such strong competition now. But if you want to find out more, or you do fancy buying one of these, you can find links in the description below. And let me know in the comments whether you're a fan of gaming notebooks and what you think of the G752. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Give me a thumbs up if you liked the video, and maybe even click that subscribe button, that'd be great. And I'll see you again next time right here on the Tech Chat.